Good morning, my artsy friends. Happy Monday. Welcome to our regularly scheduled Monday morning live. My name is Ken Johnson. I'm your thrifty apprentice. And once again, I am absolutely positively thrilled to be sharing some time with you guys today. So, I'm going to be painting inside the Etcher sketchbook because that's where most of the world watercolor paintings have gone. I'm using Daniel Smith professional watercolor paints. Um, I have a palette for mixing on somewhere. Here we go. I'll figure out how to get this set up in a second. And yeah, all right, let me get this set up. We're going to be tackling today's prompt 21, which is street food. And I thought back and forth pretty long about what I was going to do about this, trying to think through it with a mushy brain. I got up pretty early before this live started, and I didn't actually get everything prepared for this live and literally until this morning. So, running on fumes, friends, running on fumes. All right. So, what I have here is the illustration that I found on, was it Unsplash or it may have been Google. Either way, I think it was Google. Just why I said I'll show you guys the reference photo real quick, but I can't leave it up on the screen because I'm not sure of what all the copyright rules behind this particular picture are. So I'm going to show you that, and then we will check the comment section right before we get started. Let me find this photo for you guys. It's basically some corn dogs on like a picnic table type filling table, and then you can catch the bottom portion glimpse of a glass that has some type of beverage in it. We're going to make it everybody friendly beverage, but I think in the picture it might be an adult beverage in there. Might be a little foamy on the top. Let's see. Uh, I am trying to get this to where I can show it to you guys. I'm just going to pull up the tablet right quick. I'm not going to worry about transferring it to the phone. All right, so here we go. This is the image I'm painting from today, real quick, so you can see it. It's corn dogs inside one of the little, you know, holders, cardboard holders it has. I omitted whatever this is back here because I really couldn't make it out. I think it's a condiment holder with like ketchup and maybe mustard in it, but it's such a small part over there. So I grabbed the glass, the napkin the glass is sitting on, the corn dogs themselves, the holder that the corn dogs are in, the table. And I still haven't decided on this little white piece of paper towel that you can see here. The image is pretty simple and straightforward. I did honestly again grab almost the first thing I saw, just so I could try to get this live done. So that's what we are going to be tackling today for street food. I'm tackling corn dogs. You can either paint along or tackle whatever it is you had planned on doing for today's World Watercolor Month prompt. Now will be a wonderful time to get it done. I'm going to pull up the reference photo real quick for this. Um, uh, so I can kind of see what's going on. And I guess what I want to start off with would be the sort of plasticky, woody, picnicky looking table, I guess. So I'm going to grab a number 8 round synthetic squirrel brush. I have a 2 bucket system here. One side of my bucket is clean water for grabbing the clean, the other side is for rinsing my brush. Um, this reference photo, this tabletop is a little, it looks like that manufactured type of wood, maybe, or it could just be the way the photo is has edits on it. So I'm just gonna go with a gray tone, you know, for the wood. Keep it pretty simple. We'll start off by mixing some burnt sienna and some ultramarine and getting us a neutral. That's where we'll start. I do have the hair dryer plugged up. You could use a heat tool just to help us move along quicker here. I'm grabbing some ultramarine blue, mixing it into my burnt sienna to get me a nice gray. I'm going to mix more blue than burnt sienna because I like my neutrals to be more on the cool leaning side. I add a little bit more water to that, and hopefully that's going to be enough to cover this whole area. Maybe not. Let me add a little more water to it. And this means that the gray is going to be super light. I'm not going to wet the background because I do want to try to hold some color. Um, so let's start up here. And we are going to paint around our objects. Now, typically when I'm doing table landscapes, you guys will hear me say, you want to try to keep a horizontal stroke, or I would normally use like, what do you call those things? Flat brushes. Ooh, help me. I don't know if I should be trying to teach anybody anything right now. Uh, So I'm just going to paint around my image. I have a napkin there that the glass is sitting on top of. I'm painting around that. And I'm painting around the container that our corn dogs are going to be in. And in my defense, I'm from Chicagoan. We love corn dogs. We love corn dogs and hot dogs to the point where we have our own styles. So I feel okay doing a corn dog. Paint what you love, right? And I didn't intend to keep a gradient wash there, but it seemed to work out pretty well. Flat wash. I'm sorry, I said gradient wash. See, that's what I mean. I might be correcting myself out quite a few times doing this whole transition. Need to mix up a little bit more of that gray. I didn't mix enough to begin with. I want to try to hurry before I end up with any harsh dried edges or lines. And that's actually a little bluer, so I'm going to add water to it. Try to dial it back some. Should have put another piece of paper under here. So I have some some of that shadow got into my little corn dog sticks up there. That's fine. It'll just enhance the shadow once we put in the wood stick. All right. Now, what I want to do is get it 2 seconds to kind of soak in, and then I'm actually going to see if we can go ahead and start dropping in the dividing for that page, for that wood. I told you guys I'm gonna keep this sort of impressionistic. I say that now, but of course, I'll end up doing a million details because it's just the way I am. Excuse me. But for right now, I'm just gonna put, although I know it's wet, I'm still dropping a little bit darker color in the area where the panels of the wood would divide, just to go ahead and start giving me some shadow there. because the gaps in between the wood of that table is pretty big, pretty intense. And already we're starting to get some shape to it. I need to give that some time, a little bit more time to dry in that area. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and see. All right, we need to let some stuff dry. I need to grab my hair dryer and dry some stuff so we can move on. Like I said, I'm not gonna try to take up too much of your time. So I'm gonna dry really quick and then we're gonna keep moving. Let's just go ahead and keep moving. uh, and I'm gonna start with tackling the, well, yeah, I kind of want to paint from that direction. And you can see there, I left out a little bit of tabletop too. So let's jump in and correct that real quick. Let's get that corrected. I left out a little tabletop right there. There we go. And let's go ahead and, I was saying we'll do the glass. Yeah, we'll do the glass. We'll do the glass. We'll do the glass. So doing glass just depends, right, on what's around it, what's reflected around it, what you plan on putting in it, and all those good things. Now, I'm just gonna wet this area above the base of the glass, and whatever liquid that's in there is like brown in the reference photo. Like I said, I think it's more of an adult beverage. Um, so I'm gonna go with something that looks a little bit more friendlier. I don't know, maybe like a lemonade, maybe like a raspberry lemonade or something. I don't know. Let's make it colorful and cute. Let's grab some yellow. I'm gonna go with Hansa Yellow Medium here, and I'm just gonna throw that in the glass. Kind of move it around in some different areas, and then I'm gonna grab that same Hansa Yellow Medium, and I'm going to mix yellow ochre into it. And I'll put that in the glass for some shadow. Grab a little water and just kind of blend all that together. And if you want to make it look more like a slushy or like, say, a smoothie, then give it just a little time to dry. And then, well, actually, you don't even have to give it a little time to dry. I'm going to start using mass tone of my Hansa Yellow and just sort of make textury dots in the glass. It's wet, so they're going to blend down, but you're just kind of giving the impression. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my yellow ochre, just to give it a little bit more texture, make it look a little bit more maybe smoothie-like, or maybe you got your icy going on. And if you got your icy going on, you can push it even further with bleed proof a little later on. Just depends on what you want to do. Tried everything, I'll give up what you won't do. Hey, I really want to turn on some music. Hey, YouTube, give us a bunch of grief when we try to, right? They'll definitely copyright. They'll copyright strike my video, my live so quick. Absolutely. I'm gonna grab some watered down. I'm gonna go with the Hansa yellow medium because it's gonna be lighter than the yellow ochre. I'm gonna add quite a bit of water to it, get it super watered down, and then I'll put a little stripe of it down in the bottom of this glass because what is glass? We'll go in there. Really, the only thing left to do to that glass, in all honesty, is to go in and add some shadows. You're gonna see how amazing is this gonna pop out in just a second. All right, let's go ahead and let me try to do the corn dogs. I'm gonna try to do the corn dogs as one. Get my first wash on my corn dogs as one in one wash. Oh my. Okay. Um, so I'm gonna wet those because I do kind of want some blending going on here. Hopefully, should I do them one at a time? I'm gonna go and do them both. I'm just kind of going off the experience of other things that I've painted similar to this because, of course, I've never painted a corn dog before. I have no idea what I'm doing. Today was just so unplanned. Although the plan for the live has been up, you know what I mean? It's easy to schedule the live. It's a whole nother thing to actually plan for. All right. Starting with pure yellow ochre here. We'll get us some. And we are gonna, it's gonna be based across the top of each one. Keeping my wash really light at the moment. Because again, I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with this. I'm gonna grab burnt sienna and water to it, and then just dripping it in the bottom and letting it wick up. Definitely need more. I don't know. I'm gonna blend it a little bit. Excuse me. And then maybe brush just a bit more yellow ochre on that right at the top with just a tad bit of that burnt sienna still on the brush so it mixes into that yellow ochre just a little bit. Excuse me. A little bit more burnt sienna here. And now we're going here. Okay. Blend that in a little bit. Just got a damp brush. I need to. That seem to be enough. Let's just add a little bit more. And I'm making sure that the paint that's on the brush is not too wet because our paper is still wet and I really don't want it to run all over the place. There we go. We can start to see some shape coming about our corn dogs. I'm not sure why I decided to make the lemonade lemon. I don't know. Hmm. Have to work on it. All right. Can I do anything else? I can go back and reblend in here a little bit. Let's add some shadow in here. I mean, it'll still get darker and darker, but let's just add another layer here. Just add another layer of shadow there. Increase that darkness. After this, I will check the comments and we will see what you guys are talking about as I give this layer time to dry so we can move on. Oh, I didn't realize my face is all in the camera. Sorry. All right, let's jump back in, friends. Let's jump back in. We're jumping back into, and let's go ahead and tackle our little. Let's tackle the wood. What I want to do is the little striations on the table, because once we get the background, the table itself completed, everything else will come into flourishing really fast. We're just gonna have to put down a little um, watery gray paint for the napkin because it's white. So, and we'll have to make sure to put down the shadow up under it. So a lot of this is going to be building depth of value with our neutrals, but we're going to make it happen. Now, as far as this little container that the what do you call these things? Corn dogs are in. I haven't decided what color to go with. It's brown, maybe burnt umber, maybe a light wash of burnt umber. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get this table finished up. Now, you can do this any way you want to. Like I said, I'm doing this quick, fast, and in a hurry. I'm grabbing ultramarine blue. You can use a speck. Oh, Jesus. You can use effect brushes. You can use your credit card scraper, the back of your aquarelle brush. You can use whatever you want or do this, okay? Um, there are so many things that'll make a wood texture. I'm taking this all the way wood. I don't like the fake laminate wood look of that tabletop. And again, I think it might just be the photo, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna go full haul, uh, like wood, real wood tabletop. Trying to mix a gray that doesn't have too much strength to it because we're going to be building grays on top of each other ultimately until we get to something that's almost like ink black. So to start off, I'm gonna grab my little effect brush, and I want to keep in mind the direction that this seems to be running. And I'm still going to treat mostly as like one piece of wood at first. Now, if you've never seen me paint wood before, please don't be alarmed with how janky it looks at first. I promise you, we're going to get there quickly. So basically what I'm doing is adding the texture to the panels. Now this might, or no doubt, would be a lot easier if I was to use bleed proof to mask some stuff off, but I'm not going to. I'm so not going to. All right, I'm gonna angle this just a little bit so I can get some, make sure I'm getting all the way up next to the things I'm painting. Uh, Flip this upside down. I'm a little bit on the then lost my mind side today, so bear with the painting, bear with the painting. You can use your single round brush, because as you can see, I'm doing this in a straight line, and I'm basically just pulling those stripes up, trying to keep them at the angle that the table itself is running so it looks legit. Let's see. Ooh, it's hot up in here. And right in this little area, and I'm not gonna really worry about it being too defined at the moment because I'm actually gonna be coming back with another layer if need be. Okay, now without hesitation, I'm gonna mix a dark again, and this time we're gonna mix quite a bit of ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and we want to mix it to the point where it's like a kind of creamy consistency, not too wet. We're literally about to finish up the tabletop in just a second. All right, and then I'm going for deep, dark blackness to divide the top up. Try to keep it as straight as possible. I always say that, and mine is never straight. I always make it wider than it was or something of that nature. All right, I gotta be careful in this area. And trying to keep that stick on that corn dog straight because I do know that originally my paint went off into it. And based on the way it's angled, it seems as though the gap is a little wider at the front versus going towards the back of the table. And it's possibly based on the way that the photo is shot and the fact that I refuse to paint a straight line. Could have a lot to do with it. All right. Now we're going to throw in on the other side. Put as many coats on it as you need to. Make it as dark as you want. Keep in mind you want to indicate that that table has quite a big gap in it, and that when you look down between that gap, you're just seeing darkness. I'm probably detailing the table too soon, but I like the fact that you guys understand my brain is not working properly today, and I'm just painting. Have you guys ever been? I'm sure you've been there before. You're just kind of running off of muscle memory. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and switch over to a smaller round. I'm going to switch over to a golden Teclon. This is a number 2 rounds golden Teclon brush, and I'm actually grabbing, still using that dark mixture I just made, and gonna mix a little bit of it out to the side here with a little more water into it. And I want to go in with, I'm gonna turn this around and paint upside down so I don't put my hand in my painting. And I'm gonna go with really thin line, super barely touching the paper to add the shadow outline to my glass. There'll be a black shadow line running right up under the beverage. Yes, indeed. I can't even keep a straight line right now. All right. Now, let's grab the very bottom of that glass. Okay. That'll have a shadow under it, which we'll get to in a minute. Taking some of that same really watered down gray. I'm just going to swipe a little bit of it into the actual bottom of the glass. Let's fling that back around. More of that watered down gray. Come down the side of the glass here. And the shadows and the things on glass are pretty harsh. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you are trying to blend any of this out. As you build your shadows and your highlights onto glass, you're keeping it pretty sharp and pretty harsh. And I'm just blending a few shadows in over there. That way when I go back in for some major, there won't be any issues. And just make sure that you emphasize the bottom of the glass. I'll give it a second to dry before I come back to work on it. And I'm going to go ahead and try to put in whatever this is that the corn dogs are sitting in. I'm going to grab, let's go with, I guess, really watered down burnt umber. I'm going to mix a little yellow, that's a lot of yellow ochre. That's not a little. A little yellow ochre into it and see if that kind of gives me the tone I'm going for. Let's water it down. Don't know. Let's see if it's gonna work. Gonna work for me. Definitely works for me. uh, get that base in. Trying to stay out of my corn dog might not do the best job. It's kind of a dead color. Sort of semi-regret picking that color now. That's okay. I'm gonna make it work. Absolutely gonna make it work. Corn dogs. I decided to paint corn dogs that had 50,000 elements to it. All right. That bases in our little container or carton or whatever it is. And I'm sort of adding a little heavier color in certain areas just to give it Little color variation, little difference. I mean, we are going to be putting shadow in just a moment. All right, let me go ahead and do the little stick. See here, we'll grab our yellow ochre. Let's go with the yellow. Yeah, let's go with the yellow ochre. I think it'll just make sense. Maybe even that yellow from the, yeah, let's, you know what, why not? Let's punch it up a little bit. Let's go with that yellow we used in the drink. And technically, I really need to kind of scrub out the area again where, see if I can find it. I know my hair is probably all in the way. Today's live has probably just been a mess. I just want to thank you guys so very much for continuing to hang in there with me through this, um, as I try my best to get through this live for today. I appreciate y'all for hanging in there. Yeah, that's not lifting. Okay. Okay, then I need to go in with thicker paint since that won't lift. So instead of going in with anything watery, I'm actually going to try to paint with stuff directly from the pan, mixing a little yellow ochre with a little of that yellow we had earlier. And let's try this again because I need to actually shape the stick. There we go. Now, because I went in with thicker paint, I cannot do that the way I wanted to, which would have been with the credit card scraper to add a little texture into that. But I'm not going to worry about it. We'll do the detail with with the paint, not the credit card scraper. All right. And that'll look cute with some, we're going to have some black highlights in it. Let's go for um, adding shadow to our napkin now. So I'm just going to kind of base this in because it's a white napkin, right? So we're just going to base that in. Little water, little paint. hmm If you want to, you can hit it with a paper towel to add a little texture to it, especially if the paper towels you use have a texture built in, in the paper. You can actually use a paper towel to add texture to the painting of your paper towel. I'm just adding a little bit more color to that so that it stands out in contrast as being white against the gray tabletop. And then I'm grabbing thicker black paint here, and I just want to kind of hit the outside of it. It's gonna look like an outline. But as time goes on and we finish up this painting, it's gonna become more of a shadow. because we're going to be blending that out to make it look more like a shadow before it's all said and done. All right, let's beef up, staying with this smaller brush using burnt umber, burnt sienna, and that should be dark enough. Mainly burnt umber because that was the base color we used. And I'm going to just kind of add some oomph to, I'm just kind of reshaping. And you can then rinse your brush and blend a little of that color in to certain areas to show shadow. And that's still that burnt sienna color, right? Because there's going to be certain areas that ended up looking sort of shadowy because of how it's turned in this area. But I'm not doing the whole thing. You'll notice I'm not doing the whole thing. All right, let's grab a little bit more of this, and the back of this would be okay. Not going too bad. We're almost done. In a bit. No doubt about it. Put too much water in it that time. So let's mix it back out with a little bit more mass tone burnt sienna. I'm sorry, burnt umber. Okay. Now I definitely want to add in where the shadow would be around the corn dog. And then we're going to end up hitting that with gray, with a gray mixture as well. And let's be clear, I'm going to go ahead and put this dividing shadow down this. Now, we were using burnt sienna at first. This is burnt umber that I'm putting in, but I'm going to put this in and blend it up because we are going to definitely be adding more color to corn dogs in just a second. So I just want to break it up a little bit better and kind of show this shadow a little bit better. And then it would be um hopefully you guys are painting. Somebody's painting something somewhere. That's what I hope you all are doing. I'm just blocking in the area that I'm gonna have, a little bit more shadow. And I'm trying to keep it from looking so flat. That's the issue that I'm battling with right now. Making sure that it doesn't look too flat. Considering I'm not super crazy about the color I chose to paint this with. Yeah, we're just gonna add a little bit more color in, not quite as dark as the shadow, which is why I wet it, and we're just blending it down, adding it in a little bit more color in some places than there is in others. Now let's see if we can increase the depth. And then I want to blend this top one out. That would end up being blended darker. Alright. Now I have to just add in the darkest of those darks, and hopefully that'll be that on that. I'm going back in for a little bit more of that strong yellow color. And I'm going to run in the bottom of that glass. Pick up some of the strong brown color. Throw that in the bottom. Well, not too strong. Just a little of it. Throw that in the bottom. Of course, it would have all those colors kind of reflecting in the bottom of that glass there. Let's add a little texture too. All right. I feel like I can dry everything now and then start putting on some final details. Starting with yellow ochre, really heavy. Here we go. We gotta give our corn dogs the life they need now. Right beside that, I'm gonna do burnt sienna in its own puddle. All right, let's take that yellow ochre and we're basting it in on our back corn dog. Paint my whole corn dog back here. grabbing burnt sienna and blending in. I'm going to blend it together. If you need to grab a little yellow ochre to kind of force it to blend, you can do that. All right, I'm gonna grab my number 2 round using just straight burnt umber, not sienna, umber, because we want it dark. I'm gonna start putting in the bottom portion here. And then just a little bit of darkness to divide them up. Blend it up into the corn dog. Blend it around the corner. There we go. I'm okay with that one. I'm gonna give this next one time to dry, or give that time to dry a little bit while I move on to a little bit of black. And we are going to indicate this stick here. Just small details, nothing dramatic on this. Keeping in mind that your black color will enhance, especially if you mix it into what's already there. All right, I'm good with that. I do want to go ahead and put the shadow around. So again, mixing water down into that gray. And we're going to base that gray on top of that burnt umber. Taking it right up next to it. Then you can actually use the burnt umber to blend out the rest of the shadow. So that is looking a little natural. Trying. Do it again. And okay. And then I'm gonna blend that out with a little burnt umber. Or burnt umber. Burnt umber. Alright. Around the back here. And I'm gonna blend that out with a little umber. All of this is being worked out. um, as we do it. Alright, there. And then I'm just gonna grab some burnt umber. and blend that shadow in like this. Anticipate. All right. I am gonna try to see if I can lift. Trying to get it round. All right. Let's do this next one, starting with yellow ochre, and we are just gonna base this in. Grab a little water in that because it is a little strong. All right, and then I'm grabbing burnt good sienna. And then it's just a matter of a blend. It's just a matter of a good old blend at this point. Blend it in, take a yellow ochre, blend it out. Grabbing yellow ochre, letting those two meet and blending it out so that there's no harsh lines. All right. And then, my friends, I feel like we can start putting in the final highlights now. Final darks. I'm just using um, I'm just using this black, and I'm gonna go in and start putting in shadows where I can. So, um, I'm not even sure how the light is coming. So I got shadow there, shadow here. So probably light coming from this way, which means that we need to wet here. And it definitely needs to be watered down. All right, like so. And bring this across like so. All right, then we can just add color to it until we're happy with the way the shadow looks. Shadows, shadows, shadows can change everything. All right. Now let's see. We need a little bit of shadow around the napkin, like we were saying earlier. All right. Let's see. We're gonna have shadows of these little sticks, like that. And then there will be one here as well. And let's enhance that just a little bit on those corn dog sticks down there. Put just a little bit more oomph behind that color so you can see it. Not too much, but definitely enough for you to know, oh yeah, it's a shadow. Let's roll with it. All right, let me put in a few details in this black on my stick here. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Love it, love it, love it. That turned out too bad. It didn't turn out too bad. Adding in Persiana. Finish up this part of it. And let's see. Anything else I need much darker? Yes. I want that darker. I want the line up under directly touching darker. You guys know all the time I tell you your shadows are going to be darker directly where it touches. Directly where it lays down onto the surface. Like that. And then I am going to just enhance my glass a little more. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and put in shadow there. And I'm trying to keep it a little separate so you'll definitely be able to see that there's still shadow around the glass. Like that. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm good. I just need to put down a definite do this line right here, so we'll know what's up. All right, let's grab some bleed proof. We'll sign, outline, and call it a day. I went way more into depth than I planned on doing with this, in all honesty. I was gonna do a couple of washes, throw some ink on here, and be like, "Ooh, look, friends." If you hung out this long, friends, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for staying and hanging out with me through this very crazy live that has been probably not what you expected at all. Probably not what you expected at all. I'm adding in some highlights, major highlights. I still need to finish yesterday's World Watercolor Month painting, which is so crazy, guys. I still need to finish the kitchen. It's so crazy. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I really don't. Right now, I'm just making imaginary light sources on my drink, not being too specific about them. I just want it to look, but in order for it to really look right, you also have to have darkness in your glass as well. And I didn't have enough of that next to anything for it to really stand out. So I'm adding in a shadow line right next to where I put down that bleed proof so that it'll show more. And okay, that's fine. I don't really know of anywhere else that I want to put anything. All right. I'm good. I'm good. I really am. Is it a masterpiece? No. Does it convey what I wanted it to convey? Street food? Yes. Um, at this point, friends, I'm gonna be honest. I am almost just about ready for World Watercolor Month to conclude. You know, I'm just putting a few specks of light that might be shining through that glass onto that napkin. Maybe there's a highlight right there on the front. I don't think it's too bad looking. All right, And do I need to put any bleed proof anywhere else? I just like, sometimes the bleed proof does enhancements that you didn't even realize you needed. I'm just gonna take this across the top like it's touching the top part of uh, like it's reflecting off the rim. I'm not outlining lost and found edges. And then back along this edge. And then it would also be reflecting off the top corner like that. All right, friends. That I think I'm gonna call a day. I'm not sure how long we've been on. Where are we? We've probably been on 9 hours. If there's anybody still left, still watching, I love the fact that you hung in there and allowed me to get through really working this out on the screen because I didn't really have a plan. You know, I think it came out okay. We're going to take off the tape and see where that leaves us. Again, friends, if you're here and you haven't already, please go ahead and sprinkle a little love by giving the video a thumbs up. Definitely, definitely, definitely consider sharing. Sharing is caring, and maybe someone else out there would love to see how to paint some corn dogs. uh, as soon as this live ends, the video description will have all other relevant links, and I do mean as soon as I turn the live off, I go right back and fill in the video description. So if you're interested in Patreon, we will be over in Patreon tonight at 8 p.m. inside the Creation Station, where we will, of course, be more than likely tackling another World Watercolor Month. We are almost done with the World Watercolor Month. I'm excited that we're almost done. I'm happy that I participated in it all. What day is this? Day 21. So we got what, 10 days left? Not too bad. Not too bad at all. So here is what we painted live today. There's our corn dog, our street food. Not sure what you painted for your street food. There's mine. Didn't turn out too bad. I'm really hoping you guys enjoyed it. Do jump in the comment section and let me know if you're watching in replay that you watched and what you thought of today's video. Very, very straightforward. Pretty easy in comparison to some other things we've done, but definitely an image of street food. All right, I'm gonna check the video description as I wrap up here and get ready to call this live. Not video description, the chat. And gonna take me a nap for tonight. You enjoy watching the process. Nice, Terry. I'm glad that everybody who hung out to the end did. I really do hope that you enjoyed, got something out of it. This was a pretty not as me talking through everything as much as I normally do, but I do appreciate the fact that you guys hung out with me anyway. So stay tuned for Patreon tonight, 8 p.m. for our regular scheduled Creation Station Live. We will have a pre-recorded video dropping on Wednesday, which will be a time lapse to a full-time Just Keep Painting tutorial being released in the Creation Station on Patreon. And that's to make up for June. I still have one to do for July. So Patreon, you guys will still have another full-time, real-time tutorial coming in this month. I'm going to try my best to get the Karen Dosh Museum Aquarelle Watercolor Pencil 72 count review done and posted this week as well. Um, of course, you can stay tuned for Watercolor Sunday Fun Day this Sunday, because last Sunday this past Sunday we did Palm Street. So this Sunday coming up should be a Watercolor Sunday Fun Day, as long as everything stays the same. So until then, go out, my friends, enjoy yourself, have fun. Remember not to put too much stress on yourself about World Watercolor Month. Paint what you can, when you can, what you want, when you can, and have fun while you're doing it. In the meantime, I will see you all later on in a week. And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, other than the fact that I artsy love you, just keep creating, my friends.